Hello everybody and welcome to today's video based on GCSE English Literature. The exams are just a few days away and I was asking myself, what do I want to talk about for the last few videos I do on this course? And one of the things I want to talk about is how characters change. On my channel you will see very few videos where I produce a character analysis, and the reason for that is that a character analysis is going to change depending upon which part of a text you're looking at. And I want you to be aware of this as you go into your English literature exams. Don't oversimplify the characters. If you're analysing a particular moment with a character or a particular aspect of a character, just think about whether that stays the same throughout the text or changes, because so often we analyse characters as if they are just one-dimensional, when actually a lot of characters will have something that is presented about them at the beginning and that might have changed by the end. Let me give you a few examples to get you thinking. So let's say you're studying this extract in Romeo and Juliet. This is in my GCSE English Literature Guide, and this is where Romeo and Juliet meet in Act 1, Scene 5. So a typical analysis of this moment would present Romeo and Juliet as being perfectly in love. There's all of this religious language, pilgrims, prayer, saints, holy. The fact is that their words together actually form a Shakespearean sonnet, 14 lines of iambic pentameter with the rhyme scheme there of the Shakespearean sonnet. And, you know, it's all this kind of beautiful imagery of love, and you could present Romeo as being, you know, truly in love and that kind of thing. But what if you stop and think, well, hang on a minute, just a few scenes before, Romeo was very, very depressed about his relationship with Rosaline, or lack of relationship with Rosaline, and he was frustrated that she would not ope her lap, she would not sleep with him. So that presents a very different side to Romeo, and if we look at them both together, we can draw the conclusion that perhaps he is fickle and ever changing his mind, or we could be positive and say that actually what he had with Rosaline was lust, but this is now pure love, and it's shown through the religious imagery, the purity of it. But thinking about the character throughout the play is going to help us. Similarly, those of you studying Macbeth, you know this speech from Lady Macbeth, the very famous "Unsex me here" speech that she gives, the soliloquy when she reads Macbeth's letter. You know, this presents Lady Macbeth as very powerful. She's using the imagery of the supernatural. She's calling upon spirits, which contextually would have been, you know, very powerful, you know, perhaps more shocking to the audience than it is today. And she seems to be a very powerful character. But if you just present Lady Macbeth as a powerful character, as seen through this extract, you'll miss some of the finer points of the analysis. What about the lack of power that we see throughout the rest of the play, when Macbeth is planning to kill Banquo and says, Lady Macbeth says to him, you know, what's the plan? He says, "Be innocent of the knowledge, dearest Chuck, till thou applaud the deed." He completely writes her off and speaks down to her, condescendingly calling her dearest Chuck. The fact that she dies off stage, indicated through the stage direction, "A cry of women within," suggests that she has a lack of power at the end, so much so that she's not even on the stage for us to see. So I just want to really get you thinking about the fact, for paper one, of course, where you're given an extract, if you're analysing a character in that extract, don't assume the presentation of the character in that extract is the same throughout the text, but ask yourself, does the character change, or is the character the same throughout? But even in paper two, when you're analysing character, just be aware that characters either change or don't change. There's not one way of analysing them. There are a variety of different sides to characters, and those different sides can be important. How are they important? Well, what about something like A Christmas Carol? If you analyse the character of Scrooge at the beginning of the text, he is absolutely a horrendous character, isn't he? He doesn't want to put coal on the fire, give money to charity, celebrate Christmas, see his family and relatives, all of this kind of thing. But of course, the key thing is the change that the character goes through. The ghosts bring that change about, and at the end of the text, we have a mirror image, really, a totally opposite Scrooge who wants to do all the things he didn't want to do at the beginning. Analysing just one of those moments on its own would not give a full picture. And of course, there are some characters who don't change. We see in Inspector Calls, Mr. and Mrs. Burling, representative of the older generation, refuse to learn from the experience and change, and their lack of change throughout the text is significant. It's Priestley's way of explaining that the younger generation need to take on his message, the message that is brought, of course, by the inspector: we are members of one body, we are responsible for each other. So what I'm trying to say is this: if you're analysing a character in a literature text, try not to just take a single snapshot of that character at one moment, but ask yourself, does this character change or not? How is that important? How does that link to the writer's ideas and themes?